Hello, once again, the doors of the bar are open. Today we talk about reviews. How important are they? What do you do if you get a bad review, especially if it's an unjust one? Light meters. How important is it to know your stuff when it comes to using light meters? And profile pictures. You need them. We all need them. But how often do you need to take them? Well, hello, everyone. It's great to talk to you guys again. But before we get into all of those stories, Cam's just got something he would like to remind you guys about.
I do, guys. If you enjoy the show, please make sure to support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. And you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, all of which will be linked in the show notes. And also, don't forget our Patreon as well. Some fabulous stuff that's going to be going on there as well. Please leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast apps, such as Spotify and Apple Podcasts, whatever it is that you listen on. And with all of that, Mark, how are you?
I'm all good. Thank you very much. It's another busy week. How about yourself? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I know you're busy with shoots, and I'm pretty much working from home, really catching up on a load of office stuff and admin stuff that I've been able to do. I cleared a period in August of shoots to be able to catch up to do all of this, because
he's sitting on his bum, everybody. That's basically what he's doing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I wish. And you know what I've discovered though, Mark? I've got more to do than I thought I had. Catch up on things, because you do one thing which leads to another, and you think, oh, I've still got to sort this out, and then you remember I've got to sort this out, and then I've got to I need to refresh some Excel sheets because it's to do with accounts. All sorts of stuff happens. So I've sort of been clearing this period this month to be able to do that, and I've intentionally done that after the really intense period and year that we've had. So, and I had to force myself to do this. But you've been running around everywhere, haven't you, with your camera? And I hear that you've also damaged your camera as well, your precious Canon R6.
It's completely my fault. And I tell you what, everybody, this is definitely a lesson learned. So basically, for those who use Canon and the Canon flash, you probably know there's that little rubber bit that goes around the bottom of the flash which connects to the hot shoe adapter on your camera. It came off. I put it back on. It then came off again. And I thought, forget this. It's just staying off. Big bad decision, guys. Okay, because what that rubber foot actually does, it protects your hot shoe adapter from basically coming off, because it just stops the weight from sort of peeling it off, as it were, the weight from the flash gun to the hot shoe adapter. Now, I have to say, I've had a flash gun without that rubber foot on my DSLR for years, and it's not really been a problem. So it's a bit of an eye opener. I think this flash gun is actually a bigger flash than my previous one, just slightly. So that might be why. But yeah, it's got to go off for repair because I didn't look after it very well. So I've only got myself to blame, and I'm a bit annoyed.
You have, Mark. However, what I would say is that your camera takes a hell of a bashing. I mean, the amount of use that your camera gets, it's professional wear and tear. Yeah, a lot of people have got a camera like that. You probably have used yours in the last week more than a lot of people will do in a two-year period.
Wow, yeah,
serious, right?
Yeah, serious shooting.
Yeah, our cameras, and you can't expect these things to function without some sort of it's wear and tear. Okay, yes, you could say it's carelessness. You could have done this. I
should have had that rubber foot on. Basically, that's what
I
should have done.
Yeah,
but you know what though? I mean, this is another thing about having two cameras on site. I knew it was kind of dodgy, but it was working on Monday. It was fine. I put it on for a shoot today. And it was even more, the flash was so wobbly, it wasn't connecting. And I just quickly switched to my other camera and it was fine. Also, and I'm not too sure if I should be admitting this, AI, we talk about AI quite a bit. You can get these silly things. I was turned into a Ken doll the other day. It's quite funny. I'm not sure if I'm going to post it on our socials here. I don't know. I might do now.
No, we got to see it.
Yeah, got to say it. I'm looking pretty smooth, quite literally.
We got to see. We got to see that.
Yeah, the wonders of AI.
Before we get into the meaty part of the show, Mark, I picked up on a social media story yesterday, and somebody has also just sent me a photo of it in probably the last 2 or 3 minutes. And I know we're on this same group, Mark, and I don't know if you've seen, but it's a picture of a bride and groom holding hands. That is that's a stock picture. But the tag that goes with it says, "Bride demands refund after wedding photographer slept with her husband." Ooh. Now, I came across this story yesterday, and apparently it was the second shooter that was the one who slept with the bride. Now, I only just skimmed through the story very, very quickly, put it to one side, then moved on. And now someone sent me this. I thought, oh, actually, maybe it's a little bit more to it than that. Now, if any of you are looking on social media, I think you're probably going to be able to find this or research it. But because the tag that comes on, it says bride demands refund after wedding photographer slept with her husband. I don't know any more than that, other than it was the second photographer. There's some dialogue from the photographer that's on this social media stuff and whatever. But I'm going to look it up for the next episode. But we will talk about it. But
yeah,
shock story. Ooh, there. There's always a wedding story to tell, isn't there? There's always something going on in the wedding world.
We do a lot of weddings, Cam.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I would guess that the majority of people that listen to this show are, well, the majority, they're probably self-employed photographers or hobbyists that would like to be, working within the photography industry, maybe. We've got a whole mix of people listening to it. Okay.
Yeah.
But now, we wanted to talk about online reviews and the things that we need to be aware of as photographers of online reviews, the benefits, the pitfalls. How involved are you with online reviews? Have you come across,
Okay, so I mean, just to go back to it, I think what sparked this conversation between us two really about reviews was there was an article I read about someone who went onto TikTok who had a really bad experience with a wedding photographer. Now, by the sounds of the story, the wedding photographer hasn't really done very well here. However, we only have one side of this story. And this is kind of what to talk about it, because reviews are very one-sided generally. And you do have to be careful with them. Now, this TikToker said she spent $3,000 on this photography. She showed, I've only really seen 3 photos from this on her videos, and those photos don't look very good. They're out of focus and the bride doesn't look great and all this kind of stuff. And apparently the photographer hasn't done very good aftercare sales with this either, because basically she's just saying there's nothing, that's it, nothing to see here kind of thing. Whereas if the rest of the photos are like that, there is. But we live in an age now where social media is very much part of everybody's life. And that includes online reviews, really, whether it's Google reviews, whether it's on Facebook, TikTok, or the others, you know what I mean? So, we always like to have good reviews. Of course we do. I'm not as proactive as maybe I should be with it. I get people to fill in satisfaction forms after family photography and stuff like that. And I'm always getting nice reviews there, but I'm really bad at getting people to go, can you just shove it online for me as well, please? I'm just not very good at it. What I wanted to really pull this up on is, again, this isn't just something about the photography industry, although we are both photography professionals and that's the industry we're in. And it was just really how you think about the etiquette is on dealing with good reviews, bad reviews, and all that kind of stuff. Now, I was about 6-7 months ago. I just moved into a new area, and I need to get my car MOT'd. And I was looking at different reviews for different garages, and some of these, some of them had bad reviews, and it was only on a couple Okay, so some of these reviews were kind of like essay size, you know what I mean? This didn't happen, that didn't happen, and they did this, blah, 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 blah. And it was only on some of them where the garage actually replied and said, no, actually, that's not what happened. We offered this to you and you didn't do this, and blah, 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 blah. So there was two sides of the story, and you kind of go, okay, so you read that bad review, and then you read the other side of it, you go, well, actually, you know, you're reading both sides of it, whereas generally you don't see that, do you? So I remember when I was at Venture and we had a review about the costs. Now, Venture are expensive, there's no doubt about it. And I always remember the first tagline on this review was, Venture is a money-making machine. And I was thinking, well, yes, that's exactly what it is, because it's a business. Otherwise, they go under. And there's this big thing about how it was. And I said to my boss, it was about the studio I was working at, and I said to my boss, you know, we should reply to this because this is outrageous. And he was like, no, just leave it. It'll go away, blah, 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 blah. Now, that was back in, I don't know, 2008, maybe, that kind of time, a long time ago. And when I see a bad review, it's very rare you get someone actually going, no, that's not what happened. This is what happened. Now, should that be the case? Should that be what it is? Or should we actually have the courage to go, you know, if it's an unjust bad review, should we have the courage to go and reply to that review saying, actually, no, this is not on. This is not what happens. This is what happened. And likewise, if it's a good review, having a nice reply and stuff, you know, so you get like the full story. What do you think?
I think that it's like when you book a holiday. So let's look at a different industry for a moment. I mean, you said when you were looking for car and MOT.
Yeah, MOT.
Whenever I book a hotel, you know, I will always look at reviews. I'll go to TripAdvisor, find out a little bit about it, find a bit about the area and reviews. And you do trust yourself you do find yourself looking at these reviews, and you do trust those reviews. I think it's just human nature. You buy something on Amazon. So if I'm looking up something on Amazon, I'll scroll down to the bottom to see how many stars it's got, and I'll read some of the reviews. And, you know, you'll get your 5-star reviews, you get your 1-star reviews for the same product. You get all of those, and people venting off. I think it's a bit different with Amazon because they're buying, people are reviewing their experience of a product, whereas say in our case, a lot of the time, and say with hotels to a certain extent, it's down to service. So
and the product as well, I guess,
and the product as well.
It's photographs, isn't it, at the end of the day?
So you imagine somebody goes on holiday, and they've had programs about this, haven't they, on TV, where families and people go on holiday. And the only reason why they go on holiday is that they go to complain. So they're looking, they spend their whole holiday looking to find something to complain about. Yeah. The taps are too hot. I want to change room. And
I'm sure, just as a caveat, I'm sure these people are a minority. This is not what people generally do.
Not what people generally do, but there are people that do that, but people will complain about any little thing. Of course, when they are not happy about one thing, they're not happy about something else, another thing. And on the news here in the UK recently, there's been, I don't know if you've seen it, the news stories of people fighting over sunbeds at hotels.
I haven't really heard it.
Yeah, and there was a real brawl at one of the hotels, and people looking for sunbeds. Now, all of those hotels are most likely, possibly going to be getting a bad review, or a review of some sort. Oh, the hotel didn't do this, the hotel didn't do that, they didn't supply enough sunbed. All of those things. Okay, so so there are reviews happening everywhere. As far as photographers go, I know that at the same time, although there are a lot of reviews, there are a lot of. I've been meaning to write hundreds of reviews, and I've very rarely written a review. Okay, yeah. I'm guilty of not writing reviews, and yet I want my customers, I want our customers to review us. But I don't do it in return.
No, I don't.
and with all the best sort of will in the world and the best intentions, people say, yeah, we would. I've had emails from people saying, please let us know where we can write a review. We'd love to write a review about you. And you say, here it is. And they never do it, and it's such a shame. And it's not because they've not wanted to, it's just because, hey, I'll get round to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of reviews that you read can be negative because people are very quick to complain and vent off about something.
Well, this is the thing I was just about to get into actually with these. It's generally people who want to, like you say, vent or feel they've been aggrieved, or actually just want to, it can be used as a threat as well. I've seen that. If you don't do what I want you to do, I will write you a bad review. I've seen that a lot of times, so that's why generally reviews are negative, I guess. People are more likely to write a negative review than a positive one. But how do you deal with that? So if you feel that someone has written a review about your business and it's unjust, how do you deal with it?
Okay, so I can relate to this not from the review point of view, but certainly emails of complaints that have been sent in. I'm going to be completely open and honest here, okay? Otherwise, it's pointless having this podcast or having this conversation. Now, as people know that where you and I are involved in graduations, and we're talking about graduation photography, big numbers of people.
Yes, as we discussed a couple of pods ago, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly. And we recently, Mark and I were working at an event, and we are the organizers of the event. So we're not necessarily just working there as the event. We are some of the prime organizers of this whole event coming together. So we reckoned that the event we were shooting at, over a period of a few days, there were probably about 28,000 people there, and a lot of photos taken. And when I counted the files that were taken, there were anything between 50 and 100,000, 105,000 files, I think I got to. Okay, so that's a lot. It's a lot of people. Okay, that's a lot of people to keep happy. Now, undoubtedly, you are going to get people complaining. You are going to get some of those people saying, "I don't like the way I look," and normally it's I don't like it, and more often than not, and again, I'm going to be completely honest here, okay, with everything. More often than not, it's females. Guys very rarely do this. Okay. And and look, whether or not I should say or not, but the vast majority are. Okay, now I'm just saying that this is the way it is. Okay.
Well,
What I was going to say, the reason why I was going to go on to the reason why I said that was because obviously with Instagram and selfies and that type of thing, people are very, very self-conscious now of putting filters. They take a photo, they'll put a filter on, and that's definitely done more by females than it is by guys. That's just, guys do it, but it's far more women females that will do that. Okay?
I mean, it is a generalization, but I'm guessing, when you see the amount, if you have a number of people emailing you with this, you will see who it's coming from. And, it's just factual evidence.
Exactly. That's right.
It's not a point, I guess.
And Mark, I totally get the fact that, we do need to be with fairness. We don't necessarily need to say there's a difference between men and women and that. And I get all of that, but I'm just saying sort of this is what we see. This is a trend that we actually see. I'm not having to go at anyone about it. I'm just saying that's what happens. So we will get emails from some people and somebody will send an email saying, "Hey guys, I'm not happy with my picture because of this, this, and this." Very polite email. Then some people will write an email that literally blames everyone and anything. Okay, how the photographer was rude, how the people that greeted them were rude on the day, how they were shown no respect on the day, and it's all because they don't like their photo. So they're building up this email to this huge complaint. Then you can tell they've got worked up over it, and they've actually said, right, I'm going to write a complaint. Oh, and by the way, while I'm writing this, I wasn't happy with this, I wasn't happy with that, I wasn't happy with this, I wasn't happy with that. So, and then in those messages, it will say, I'm going to be writing a really bad review. I'm going to write a review if you don't do something about it. Now, regardless of whether they do that or not, we don't want anyone to feel that they're not happy with their photos. Okay, so we're very, very hands-on. And you've got to remember also, there's a whole team of people dealing with this. There's a dedicated department that deals with all of this. So an email will come to me. If it will come into the company. If it's escalated, it will come to me, and I will deal with that person direct, and I'll make it very personal. So And what I'll do is I'll show that I am human, that we're not machines. So I will go in and I will ask them how they are. I'll ask them if they've had they had a good experience at the graduation, and all of that. And I'll say that let me try and do what I can to make sure that we sort your photos out for you. Once you've got to that point, suddenly the tone changes. They suddenly think, whoa, oh, actually, hang on. Someone's being kind here to me. And I always come back to that thing about be kind. You know that? Remember that phrase about being kind? I mean, it was Caroline Flack when she died. And I've mentioned this so many times. That whole be kind thing did not last long, did it?
No, it didn't. No, it didn't. You just got to look at Twitter or X, if it's now called X, isn't it? But
and that's one of the things that just that things don't really wind me up. They don't get to me. But the whole be kind thing really gets to me because that's just gone completely. So once you say to these people, right, okay, look, what can I do to help? I'm here to help you. And do you know what, Mark? I don't think that there's been a single instance that we've not managed to sort out. And what we'll do is we'll say, okay, what is the issue with it? Okay. And it's usually something that can be rectified really quickly. And it's usually something to do with maybe the final images were a little bit dark, or they want to have a look at all of the images again. And they just want to choose this. They want to reselect their image again. Fine. You can do that. It's fine. We want you to be happy. When it gets to a point where we think, okay, this is not really solvable in the way that there's something that's not right, then what we'll do is we'll offer a reshoot, a complimentary reshoot, where that graduate can go to another graduation ceremony. Now, in the last 2 years, since COVID, since last year and this year, and we've got one coming up, out of all of the thousands that we do, this will be the second reshoot. All right. Okay. That we've got coming up in September. She had a picture shot a few weeks ago at an event, and she wasn't happy with the picture. We can edit things and do whatever, but it's nothing to do with the photography. The photography was absolutely fine. Technically, there was nothing wrong with it. She just doesn't like the way that she looks. We don't have to do what we've done by offering her a complimentary reshoot, but we're doing it. And it happens, okay. And I'll give you people another instance. And we were at a graduation event recently where a graduate came up to me. She looked a little bit sort of stressed, and she said to me that she wasn't happy with the photos that had been taken by the photographer. And I said, look, just tell me why. And she went on to explain to me that she gets very stressed. She feels under pressure very, very easily. And I felt really sorry for her. And she was being very, very genuine. And she said to me, I didn't know whether to say something. So I said, okay, look, let's just hit reset and start again. And what we'll do is we'll get you your photos. We'll get you to another photographer and get your photos taken again.
Yeah, and that's that's and that's what you should do.
Yeah, and I said to her, what do you want to? Have you got your family? Have you got your family with you? And bring your family in for a photo. And they were more than happy. You know, we'd rectified the situation there and then. It wasn't a problem at all. Okay. In other words, we fixed the situation. And this is, I think, I've gone in a roundabout sort of way to say that that customers, if they're not happy with something, they have to give the people that who provided the service the opportunity to say, let me see if I can help you with this. Let me see if there's a solution, because usually the solution is an easy fix.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just on those instances that where you feel you've done everything and they're still not happy. You will get those people. The question really asking is, how do you deal with it on an online forum where lots of people are going to be reading it?
Yeah.
And let's say you did all of those things and they were still not happy and still wrote a bad review. What do you do with that review?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Would you then write a reply for everyone to read and say, well, actually, no, this happened. We tried to do this. You didn't want to do that, blah, 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 blah. And now this is where we are. Because as I say, back in 2008, when I wanted to reply to that review, because I just thought it was grossly out of order. I was said, no, don't do it. It's just going to cause more bother.
Yeah.
But I felt it was unjust. you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think from sort of the way I would be was if I had something to complain about, if I was something that I wasn't happy about, I wouldn't write a review online. okay, I'd go to the people first, which is what I was saying. And
but let's say that's all been done.
Yeah, but no. So what I was going to say was, I think that's what most people do. But there's a certain type of person that will just vent straight away. Okay, so they go ahead and they write a bad review. They've not contacted you in any way. You've just read this review online, and you thought, oh God, what's going on here? Okay, so the different ways are, yes, you can write a reply and explain yourself. Okay, now when you and I've seen hotels do this. I've seen hotel managers write, I'm sorry you weren't happy, but and normally what they'll say is, in most cases they'll say, if you'd have told us at the time, we could have done something about it. Okay, so that's one thing. Okay, now what you have to be careful of in your reply is, it's very easy to open yourself up to something else. Okay, and you've got all good intentions, but suddenly you've written something that not just that particular person, but somebody else could be reading it and is thinking, oh right, okay, they might take something that you've written the wrong way. So what I would personally do in this situation, I'm only thinking about it now, if I was put on the spot, what I would do is I would contact that customer and I would say, look, I've read the review online, which is really disappointing, but I want to try and help you. What can we do to fix? What can we do to solve this? Let's be sort of fairly certain that we would be able to fix it, because you'd know you'd have known well before a review was written, right? And then what I would do is, if it's solvable, what I would then say would be, first of all, is find out whether that review could be removed. Or then say to the person, or what I would do is maybe not involve the person anymore, because you just want to get shot of those people, right? You want to sort it out and get shot of them and never see them again, right? Let's be honest, right? And then what I would probably do is go into the review, and I would say that I'd write a general comment, wouldn't say anything that's gone, and say that I wanted to respond to this customer, and I've been in direct contact with this customer. The customer raised an issue, and between us, we solved it, and the customer walked away happy, or whatever, right?
Okay.
Phrase better. Okay. And it was left like that. And then say, look, we really care about customer service. And customer service is the most important part of what we do and everything. It's at the forefront of what we do as a business. And then I would leave it at that. So I'm not ignoring it. You can ignore it. I know somebody, I'm not going to say who it is, going back a few years ago, had lost touch with this person who ran a company. I won't say what sort of company it was. His service, he was very good at what he did, but the service he provided was very hit and miss at what he did. And he started to get some bad reviews, and justifiably bad reviews as well. Yeah. And what he then did was he came off of social media altogether. He just completely shut his social media stuff down. So he completely ignored everything that was going on. So he was burying his head in the sand. Whereas the first instance I would do is I would email the people. I'd say, look, I do want to sort this out for you. What can we do about it? And then sort the review out. I think
yeah. I mean, all that is fine. I think the worry is, if you feel you bent over backwards for someone and they're still not happy, what do you do?
I think then, I think as far as the online review is concerned is, again, I would probably be honest and say, look, we've tried to rectify the situation. Let's just say that we offered the person a reshoot, or we offered the person to rectify. The customer didn't want to, decided not to continue with it or whatever. And so, we offered the customer a full refund. And if we didn't have to, I'd say we didn't have to do this, but as a goodwill gesture, we decided that this was the best for all relations. This was the best thing to do. And being a professional company, it's important to us that, so there's still ways of killing it in the right way. But people have to read in between, don't they? Reviews,
don't know, do they?
Buy a product, review a product, and you read on Amazon, and you read 10 5-star reviews, and then you see that 1-star review, and you think, oh my God, that's the one that keeps, and you go back and you go back.
It's that bad review, and that's why we're all sort of held hostage to the possibility of a bad review. And I think, although don't get me wrong, I think having that sort of customer justice, or a way for a customer to make a company to account, I think is very important. And but I do feel sometimes that you're right. This thing could have like hundreds of 5-star reviews, but it's just that one bad review, and that'll put you off.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
the power of that bad review.
Yeah.
And
When it comes to the graduation stuff, it's messed my day up at times, and you can't get it off your mind because that there is nothing wrong with what you've done and the service that you've provided. You just know just knock my mic over. You just know 1,000% that what you've done is absolutely fine. The photos, there's nothing wrong with the photos. You just know that this customer is going to be a difficult customer, for whatever reason. There are people out there that are like that, and you have to deal with it, and you take it personally, and it's not very nice when it happens.
It's a personal thing what we do, isn't it?
It is a very personal thing what we do.
It's hard not to take it personally when people do that. Even and don't get me wrong, if it's something, I mean, I always, especially my family photography, there's certain things I have in place to make sure that I can rectify anything before it even becomes a problem.
Yeah.
So, I do have a length of time for when people's products are back from the lab. Yeah. I state that length of time, knowing full well, actually, it'll probably take a lot less than that, but it gives me time to go through those products and make sure I don't spot anything. Yeah. Because if I do, I can send it back and then it comes back still within the time that I've told the customer. And then if everything's fine, I've just delivered it early. And that's, exactly. So there's a lot of things to do with that. But as I say, I have come across things in my career, whether it's not just my freelance, but when I was working with companies, that I just felt some reviews are just the whole, this business is a money making machine. Well, of course it is.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, exactly. And I just feel like sometimes when you get that unjust review, you feel hostage to it, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it rattle me a little bit. But
that's right.
They're few and far between, to be fair. They are.
Yeah, they are. That's right. Yeah. Good
anyway, stuff. I'm feeling thirsty.
Yes, let's grab a drink.
Yes.
All right, that feels better, Mark. Okay. Now, when a photographer buys his or her kit, you're looking to buy the right cameras, you're looking to buy the right lenses, buying the right tripods, it's something that's within your budget. You're trying to buy the best that you can, but you're always making sure that you've got the right equipment. Now, when it comes to studio work, those photographers out there that do studio photography, whether it's family portraits, whether it's product photography, whatever it is, and you're working in the studio and you're using studio lights, it's important that you know how to use those lights. I've seen it. I've seen photographers who have worked in studios who don't know anything about lighting. They've just bought some lights and hit and hope, and they'll watch a few YouTube videos and they'll go from there and that type of thing. But specifically, rather than the actual lights themselves as having the right kit, I wanted to talk about light meters and flash meters. Okay, and the importance of having a flash meter for studio lighting and knowing how to actually use it and the difference it actually makes.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that, Mark?
Well, knowing your kit generally, this what I'm about to say is not about a light meter, but I remember I was trying to use a Nikon camera and I couldn't get this thing to do what I wanted it to do because I'm a Canon user. And I was looking through all the menus, I couldn't get it to it. I hand it over to you and you go, oh, it's here. Even though you're now using Canon, you knew your Nikon stuff inside out when you were using it. Yeah. And if it was a Canon camera and someone handed it to me, I'll probably be able to do the same.
Yeah.
And that's about knowing your kit and light meters. I mean, light meters are pretty simple things, really.
They are.
I mean, stick it on the flash setting with no cord or cord if you're still syncing, but most people do it with a trigger now. Yeah. You press a button, do the lights, and you read the thing, and there you are. I mean, it's not difficult. Yeah. But I mean, I'm worrying about sounding like old man shouts at cloud here, but I do find that when I've interviewed people for studio photography, whether it was in my venture days or, I help out another independent studio as well as my own, and I do help with the interviews and go through the studio with them. And, you think that they don't, I mean, these are people who have not necessarily fresh from uni. They've probably been to uni, maybe it's a couple of years after uni or college or whatever it is. And they don't know how to use things like light meters. And I find that perplexing because I had my own light meter when I was at uni. Do you know what I mean? I knew how to use it. I definitely knew how to use it. And I do worry about what people are being taught. I worry about, the fact that, we do have digital cameras. Things do seem a little easier because, we can see the pictures straight away. We're not reliant on film and all this kind of stuff. And, it's easier to make a mistake and rectify it because you see the image straight away. And maybe that's the reason. But, when I find people coming out of colleges and uni and they don't know how to use a light meter, I'm kind of a little bit perplexed, especially if you want to go into the studio area of the industry. Mm-hmm. It's a simple thing you need to know about.
It is. And you said it's one of the simplest things to use. And I know that I used, and I got rid of it a long time ago, a Sekonic light meter. And all it had was these little triangular lights, I guess, that lit up. And it had one button and it had the ISO setting. So you set the ISO and then you press the button in the middle, the lights flashed, you read it one way and then you read it the other way and you balance your lights up. It was the simplest thing to use. Honestly, I could teach a 10-year-old how to do it and use it very, very, very quickly. Okay.
In fact, the new ones, or the newer ones, are a lot easier than the old school light meters. I mean, the ones where you have to turn all the dials and stuff. You don't even have to do that these days. You don't even have to do
exactly. That's right. Yeah, things have changed. Things are so easy, but people don't know how. People don't even seem to think that they need a light meter. This is one of the things that is surprising when you've got studio lights. Yes, I agree in the sense that when we were shooting film,
which is just what I was saying, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
The film and digital.
You needed to when you're shooting digital. I mean, if I was doing a shoot and I didn't have a light meter, it'd be fine. I wouldn't panic. I could see what I've got on the back of my camera. Yeah. I could work it out and I'd know what I was doing. But it's because I know my equipment, so I would know that. Oh, hang on a minute, that flash power is like, it's 3 points above the one on the right. Is 3 points above. It's firing 3 times higher or something, whatever, and I want to balance it up. I need to move it back, I need to move it left, or I want to get a little bit more of a highlight. I haven't got my light meter, but I know that by reading 0.1 on my right and by reading 0.7 on my left is going to give me that, and that's from experience. That's knowing it, and that's because I know the light meter, so I know what's happening, so I can work without a light meter. But to use it and to be sort of and familiar with it is not only going to give you the best images, the most flattering images, but it's also going to make your post-processing easier as well. As I always say that, as photographers, we should not be spending, unless you really want to, you need to spend as little time as possible editing than you need to. If you're on a shoot and you're spending a lot of time editing because the job justifies that, that's fair enough. But you don't want to be doing a shoot where you're spending most of your time editing and none of that editing time has been paid for. And the only reason why you're editing is because they've not been shot properly.
Yeah, to an extent. I mean, it depends on what in the studio. Yes, absolutely right.
Yeah, we're talking about studio stuff here. Yeah.
I mean, one of the comments that I used to get when I was training people, and I was working for that well-known family photography company. One of the comments I got was that, but I see you just put it on that setting on the light, so I'll just do that. I don't need to worry about using the light meter because for the flat fashion lighting that they used to use, it was simple and fair enough. It was supposed to be like that, so you could move the light and didn't have to constantly be remetering. But I was like, no. You need to learn how to use a light meter because you're not going to be working here forever. You might know in this studio that at that light at that point is going to be at that setting. But in another studio, if you want to recreate it, how are you going to recreate it if you don't know how to use a light meter? You're not going to be able to do that. And I was always very much of the opinion, I'm trying to train you as a photographer, not necessarily a photographer for this studio. You need to know how to use a light meter because, like I say, you need to be in another place. And you need to be able to go pop, 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 and sort it all out with all the different light readings. You don't know how many light setups you need and all that kind of stuff, and just understanding it. I mean, you said you had a Sekonic. My light meter I bought in, I think 1998 or 1999. Still going strong.
Yeah, that's right. I've got the Sekonic meter somewhere, and it's still going. I've had that. I've had that for 30 years, I reckon. It's still going. Right. Yeah.
I mean, a bit of an investment at the time, especially when I was 18, 19 at the time. It was about Well, this is the joke. So you have the Sekonic one, which is about 120 quid.
Right. Yeah.
This one, which was Shepherd Polaris. At the time, I think it was about 80 quid, so it's a bit cheaper and was actually more accurate than the Sekonic at the time. It was,
I'm sure,
it was a tenth of an f-stop, rather at the time the Sekonic was an eighth of an f-stop.
Yeah.
And I've used it. It looks like something out of the 80s, I have to say. It's not the most well designed as far as how it looks, but it does the job. It's very, very good. In fact, I had I was helping someone set up the lights, and I was doing it with my meter, and that person did it with his meter, and there was a difference in the lights, and I was worried because my meter is very old. I thought, oh no, maybe it's the end of my meter, and then we actually got someone else to use their meter, and theirs was saying the same as mine. So I'll have to say, I love it. Yeah.
And that's the other thing, though.
Once you bought it, they'll last.
Different meters will probably give you a different reading. So there is a case of saying, well, okay, which one is right? But the thing is, it's going to get you as accurate as you can be in your situation, and then you get to know your lights because I can't remember which camera it was. I think it was a D4S. But I always worked when I had the Nikon D4S. I always had the exposure value of that, the EV reading, on -0.5 to -1. I always felt that every shot that I did, no matter what I did, it overexposed. And so I permanently put the exposure value down, and it always gave me the best results.
I mean, technically you're supposed to do that anyway. Yeah. I mean, when I was using 5.4, I would meter for the blacks.
Yeah.
But I know that meter is going to make that black grey.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
but you
have to stop down a bit.
Yeah, this was generally every shot that I was doing, though. As soon as I bought the camera, I thought, why does it seem to overexpose everything when the exposure value is on 0? And whether that's if I've got it, say, in program mode or something, it was always doing the same. And it wasn't quite right. Once I go to a manual mode, I could set it and it was actually fine. But back then I was using the meter in the camera because
which
it
aren't as accurate. They're not as accurate as a handheld meter.
That's right. Yeah. But using a meter is important. Like we're talking about flash meters here in the studio, but when we talk about light meters, again, when I was shooting weddings on medium format, at weddings or any job outdoors, you'd be taking a light meter reading for almost every shot you'd be doing, and you'd be doing your shots at a wedding, and then you'd hold the light meter, looking at the light. But then you got used to it because you could go and set a group up. By the time you've walked back to what the camera was on the tripod back then, the sun may have gone in. You turn around, you're about to press the button, and the sun comes back out. And for a period when I was learning, you'd go back and do meter readings, and it was very quick to do, but it still took up time. But then after a while, you realise I'm F8, I need to open up to 5.6. I'm F11, I need to get to F16. I need to open up half a stop. I need to close. I need to you get to know and you get to learn. I think too much these days because of digital is hit and hope. You say to people, I think you just need to, maybe you're just a tad over on the exposure, and they'll like look at you and think, what on earth is, what
we can fix it in Photoshop.
I can fix it in Photoshop.
You can fix it in Photoshop, can't you?
Yeah, that's right. Is there something wrong with my camera? No, you've just overexposed a tad, right? You should know that, and mirrorless has made it even easier. It's almost foolproof now because you see what you're shooting in the viewfinder. So there's never any excuse to get the exposure wrong, unless you're working in the confines of, you're under pressure on a job and you get one or two wrong just because you were working so quickly, and it's going to happen. Yeah. But when you've got time and you're slowing down and you're thinking about it, you should never make and that's, I'm talking about normal light meter readings. But just to finish off on that, we're talking about flash. I know a lot of photographers now aren't really even using studio flash. They're using the LED lights now. Lighting has changed dramatically now over the years. I mean,
LEDs are good. We use them when we're doing we're doing weddings and stuff, don't we? I think the idea of using a flash studio flash on a wedding it's just not feasible, really, because things move a lot quicker now, and it's not something you can do. However, I wouldn't replace my studio lights in a studio with LEDs.
No, because, when we do product photography, we'd never use LEDs for those. No. I have done, but flash still gives me that pop, that gives me that depth. It gives me it just gives me that spark.
Also, you can control the different types of lighting, whether you want hard light, soft light, barn doors, and all those kind of things. Which, that's right, I guess some LEDs you can do that now, but It's not really the same.
But learn how to use them. Get yourself a light meter as well. Don't go out and buy studio lights, not buy a light meter. And gradually you'll get to learn what those lights do and what readings that you should be getting and everything. And you'll question it. If you think you need to, we shoot a product, I need to shoot that product at f/22. I need to get it front. I need to get it sharp, front to back. So I've got to have those studio lights up high. I've got to have them. The power's got to be on. That product has got to be pin sharp all the way. And and I've come in close as well because I need to fill up the frame. So I know my flash needs to be high, and if I've got it on power 1 and it's got, say, power 10 as the highest, I know I need to be somewhere near power 10.
You only got to power 10, do you?
Yeah, that's right.
Mine goes up to
11.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So anyway, let's stop that one there. But flash meters.
Well, I would say though, if you're looking at a flash meter, I mean, you can't go wrong with a Sekonic. I think Sekonic's a great light meter. I'm not too sure if you can buy mine anymore because it's really, really old. But yeah, just have a good look around. The Sekonic, I mean, is the general one to use, I think. So that'd be all good. Yeah. Anyway, drink time.
Yeah, let's grab a drink. Okay, profile pictures, Mark. When was the last time you updated your LinkedIn profile picture?
Well, the LinkedIn one's probably not a good example because I never use LinkedIn. I've got a thing there. So if anyone has messaged me on that and I haven't replied, it's not because I'm being like antisocial or anything. Well, I just don't go on it. It's probably been pre-pandemic, I think. I'd suggest that because I think I've got one on my Gmail account as well. And that's pre-pandemic. The hair is a bit grayer since then, so I probably need to sort it out.
I can't remember the last time I used LinkedIn. I know how important it is. I know how valuable it is. I don't have. It's that classic of just don't have the time to use it. It's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing in a way, because it is promotion. So we get, and it is important, I think. I can't remember the last time I updated my profile picture on LinkedIn. I remember where it was taken. It was taken in Venice. It was taken.
Check you out.
Several years ago. It's only a close up. You never know, right?
All right. So you just had to drop it in, did you? Just so people knew.
But but it was several years ago, and that was the last time I updated it, and that's not good now. But the importance of a profile picture for some people is paramount. I mean, there's a lot of photographers out there that work as or specialize themselves as headshot photographers. It's hugely important for some people to have that right feeling, that right image, that right everything. It's got to be about it. And it's like, it's like the passport photo, Mark. I don't know why so many people get so paranoid over their passport photo. Going back years ago, we used to do passport photos. People used to come in our office, used to be a quick service, do the photos, it's done. We don't do them now. But people get paranoid over their passport photo, and they do over their profile photo as well. But the importance of a profile photo, there is self-branding now. Branding, when people do say that, people buy into people now and they want to know about the people. They want to know BTS behind the scenes stuff that goes on. They want to know what you look like. On our Abraxas Weddings page, we have got a team photo. That needs updating on our.
It does, because I'm on it and I do not fit in that suit. I'm going to tell you that right now.
on our weddings, sorry, not on our weddings, on our commercial page, we've just got some individual headshots, and they need updating. But don't get precious with those.
Well, they do say,
but people do.
Yeah, every 3 years you should change it, unless you do something drastic like shave your hair or I don't know, grow a beard or whatever it is. They do say you should change it once every 3 years.
Is that what it is? Right.
Yeah, okay. That's what they say. I mean, who they are, I have no idea, but I was reading an article about it, and they do say every 3 years. So I think maybe we should probably break down a few tips on making a good profile picture, because it is important. And the reason it's important is because, if you got something online and then you have a Zoom meeting with them or you meet them in person, and if you're vastly different to your profile picture, it's going to confuse a lot of people. You want to make sure you don't come across as a fake account, and you want to make sure that, you are genuine. So yeah, you do need to make sure that your profile picture is up to date. Me and you both need to do it. And we definitely do. I mean, I remember we did, because we, as I'm sure our listeners have noticed, we have upped our marketing game with this podcast. And part of that, me and Cam had to spend an afternoon doing these catalogue poses, which you see on our YouTube channel of us looking dismayed or thumbs up or whatever it is. And that took us ages to do. And I remember when we finished it, I thought, you know what, we're going to have to do this again at some point.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, I hate being in front of the camera, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not my thing. That's probably why I'm a photographer. It does need to be done. I mean, a couple of things I would suggest when you're doing your profile picture. Your backgrounds, keep it as clean as possible. So don't make it fussy. You don't want loads of things in the background that make it busy. So a nice plain wall, or if it say sky or a landscape, that's quite.
But you see there, Mark. If you don't mind if I interrupt, but you see, it depends. Does it depend? It does depend on what type of industry that you're in.
No, I don't think it does.
Okay, because let's say I was a finance director. People want to see me sort of
looking at a calculator?
Right, looking. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, right. In a studio, the studio background, wearing a shirt, tie, the classic head and shoulders corporate type shot, or do they want to see me, in jeans, t-shirt, and out somewhere as a real relaxed photo? What do people?
Again, I was reading up on this, and the first thing, keep the background sort of not busy. You don't want a busy background. So it could be you sitting at a desk with the wall in the background and just a chair or something like that. It just can't have loads of stuff happening in the background.
Yeah.
Talking about clothing, you don't have to be suited and booted. It could be just a button shirt with a couple of buttons undone. It could just be a blouse. I mean, it can't be jeans and t-shirts unless I guess that does then become industry dependent. If you're a professional gardener, I guess you wouldn't be necessarily in it. In a suit, you would probably be in your gardening stuff. So I guess, yes, you are right. It is dependent on it. But, for us, for example, photographers, and we are a photography based podcast, I think generally I guess, if you're a travel photographer, you probably do need to have some element of travel in your picture. So maybe, you could have a certain landscape or something like that. But you just got to, I think the thing is, it needs to be plain, that the background's not busy. I think what you're wearing needs to be suited to what you're doing, but you don't have to be uber smart. I think also color-wise, I mean, I'm wearing quite a jazzy tie today because I'm about to shoot a wedding. I probably wouldn't have something quite so busy. It'd probably be more of a plain tie. And, if it is a T-shirt thing, then maybe just a plain T-shirt like we did with our catalog ones. We didn't want any logos or anything on it. You want to keep that quite plain. Make sure it's lit okay. Now, you don't have to be a professional photographer to do this, although hopefully we are speaking to people who are photographers in some respects. So yes, you could get a flash, if you want to do your studio flash, but just make sure you're lit very nicely next to a window. The whole Rembrandt lighting, if that was painted by people who were, next to windows. So just make sure, though, that people can see your face. That's incredibly important. So it's got to be lit nicely. And I guess just a nice smile. You don't have to do anything too crazy. You don't have to be doing thumbs up or victory signs or anything like that. And obviously, make sure that if you wear your hair in a certain way, might be worth keeping it like that for your profile picture. And as you probably noticed, the things I've been saying about are, it doesn't matter if you're male or female or whatever, all these things are the same, It's just about being you or professional you, and that's very important because you need to project that to your clients. You need to project that to your business partners. That's what you need to do. And probably once every 3 years, which both me and Cam, as we've just discussed, aren't adhering to that, and we probably need to change it.
Far from it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I totally agree with everything that you've said there, Mark. I just want to throw in, it's just like, is be yourself. One thing I would say is don't get too hung up on it. You know, people do get too hung up on it, and they really get overly precious with it and everything. You know, I've got to have the right headshot. I've got to have the right profile picture. You just need a profile picture. You just need a headshot of some sort, because people do like to see who is behind whatever type of business it is, whoever it is that they're dealing with, more so than ever before. It is the way it is. But okay, good stuff, Mark. All I've got to say now is please keep listening to the show and supporting us. Make sure you support us by watching our YouTube channel, subscribing to that, our Patreon, which is all brand new, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. And again, as I said at the beginning of the show, all of these will be linked in the show notes. And please, when it comes to those reviews that we were talking about today, please write us a review. That's something that we'd really love to hear from you. And with that said, Mark and guys, we will see you in the next episode.
We certainly shall. Bye for now, guys.